Good evening, everyone. Now that everyone has their food, we're going to go ahead and get started with our program. We'd like to welcome you again to this 50th anniversary gala for the Couple to Couple League, and it's beautiful to see so many of our friends who are like family in many ways out in our audience this evening. We want to welcome all of you who are at home watching. We heard there are people tuning in from London and from India, from all over the United States in different time zones, and we're just joyful and grateful to have you with us this evening. So before we get started, just a few things. We're going to let you keep eating. We're going to continue with our program, and we're going to begin with a beautiful prayer that's going to be presented by a former board chair and CCL couple since 1986, Mr. Tom Strunk.
All right, today is the feast day of one of our founders, and so I have a prayer written by John Paul II. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord God, from you every family in heaven and on earth takes its name. Father, you are love and life. Through your Son, Jesus Christ, born of woman, and through the Holy Spirit, the fountain of divine charity, grant that every family on earth may become for each successive generation a true shrine of life and love. Grant that your grace may guide the thoughts and actions of husbands and wives for the good of their families and of all the families in the world. Grant that the young may find in the family solid support for their human dignity and for their growth in truth and love. Grant that love, strengthened by the grace of the sacrament of marriage, may prove mightier than all the weaknesses and trials through which our families sometimes pass. Through the intercession of the Holy Family of Nazareth, grant that the Church may fruitfully carry out her worldwide mission in the family and through the family. We ask this of you, who is life, truth, and love, with the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Tom. It's such a blessing to gather on this feast day of John Paul II, who I'm sure has had such an amazing impact on all of our lives and our families. And for those of you who are tuning in from many places around the world and all these different time zones in North America, we just welcome you with us this evening to celebrate 50 years of Couple to Couple League that has just made the difference in so many lives and so many families. And we also want to welcome the babies that are with us this evening and their little sounds in the background. They are the fruit of the labor and the love of Couple to Couple League through all these years. So we're thrilled to have these babies. I'm not sure it would be a very good CCL gathering without a few babies in the room. So I have the privilege tonight of introducing who I would call a friend and someone I've worked with many times through the years, who I consider a colleague, who has given so much of himself to Couple League, both as an executive director for many years, but also now in his retirement. I giggled tonight and I said, "You're not very retired, are you?" So just to read his beautiful bio to all of you. After receiving his doctorate in microbiology from the University of Cincinnati College of Medicine, Dr. Mike Manhart embarked on a career in research and development with Procter & Gamble. While there, he held numerous management roles of increasing responsibility in various global healthcare and pharmaceutical organizations. He retired in 2008 as Director of Research and Development. Dr. Manhart also served on the CCL Board of Directors from 2007 to 2009, and with his wife Karen, has been a teaching couple for more than 35 years. In July 2009, he was appointed executive director and led the organization until 2016. He has served as senior scientific consultant for CCL and as a member of the FACS Advisory Board. And in 2019, Dr. Manhart was invited back onto the board of directors. He and his wife reside in the Cincinnati area and is the proud father of 4 and the grandfather of 7. So we'd like to welcome Mike.
Thank you, Kate. I left my walker back at the chair over here, so it sounds old, doesn't it? Well, let me say on behalf of the Board of Directors, I want to welcome all of you, both those of you who are here, and it really is good to be here, isn't it? As well as those who are online, and we really do appreciate that. I also want to give a heartfelt thanks to the thousands of CCL volunteers who have made this mission possible throughout the years. 50 years. That's a long time. My mustache isn't that old. CCL has been around longer than Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, EWTN, and at least 25 dioceses that are within the purview of the Bishops' Conference in the United States. So here's a piece of trivia next cocktail party. What do the 26th Amendment, FedEx, Disney World, the NASDAQ, National Public Radio, and CCL have in common? They were all started in 1971. And so you don't go run into your phones to Google it. The 26th Amendment lowered the voting age to 18. So CCL truly is blessed to have survived and I dare say really thrived in our first 50 years. And my goal for the next few minutes is to provide a look back and celebrate what, with God's grace, we have accomplished as an organization. I do apologize up front for any errors and omissions. My intent is not to provide the definitive archival record for CCL, but really to illustrate how we have maintained a set of principles while adapting to a constantly changing environment to be able to continue to bring the good news of NFP to millions. So CCL began with John and Sheila Kipley when they felt compelled to affirm the teaching of Humanae Vitae and were personally motivated by Jesus' words in Luke when speaking to the Pharisees when he said, "Woe to you lawyers also, for you load men with burdens hard to bear, and you yourselves do not touch burdens with one of your fingers." So the Kipleys started Couple to Couple League in the fall of 1971 with the guidance and support of Dr. Conald Prem. Dr. Prem at the time was a professor in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at the University of Minnesota Medical School, and he later went on to become department chair there. Now, Dr. Prem had already been teaching NFP in parishes in evening sessions, but he became really enthused when John and Sheila came to him with this idea about having couples teach couples in a series of 4 classes that positioned a method of natural family planning in the context of human sexuality as articulated in Humanae Vitae and included the benefits of breastfeeding. Roger and Peggy Carter from Minneapolis became the second certified teaching couple after John and Sheila, and from there the league has grown to become an internationally recognized leader in natural family planning. In 1972, John and Sheila relocated to Cincinnati, where John took a teaching role at the College of Mount St. Joseph. And CCL has remained headquartered there in Cincinnati since then. The first training manual was mimeographed on a mimeograph machine, and you can look that up, in 1973. The Art of NFP was published as a book for the first time in 1975. But by this time, CCL had grown to 26 chapters in 8 different states and had already taught nearly 4,000 couples. From the beginning, CCL has been about supporting the family and enabling husbands and wives to fully live their vocation of marriage. To this end, the tradition of the biannual conventions began in 1978. These events brought families together from across the country to connect, to worship, be energized, and educated for the mission. Here, too, was begin that uniquely CCL custom of waving after speeches rather than applauding so as not to wake the sleeping babies in the rooms. Many of us remember this, right? So the children of CCL members form friendships from across the country, and many of you probably have sons and daughters who have friends from distant places because of conventions. And I venture to guess that there were probably several children conceived near and around CCL conventions. Recognizing that many wanted to be a part of the mission but did not feel called to teach, the Promoter Program was begun in 1984. This really expanded the CCL family and brought important new skills and extra hands to local chapters to help. Also around this time, regular communication to support volunteers and members was needed, and so the in-house memo began, and this later morphed into the Family Foundation magazine that we know today. For many members living far from others using NFP, this magazine often was an important element of support as they dealt with living NFP and spreading the good news. Family Foundations continue to grow and has regularly been honored by the Catholic Press Association for its excellence through the years. In 1986, despite having trained over 750 teaching couples, the demand for learning NFP was greater than the teachers could cover. So a home study course was launched, and this allowed couples living far from a teacher to learn natural family planning through CCL's unique style. Now, our reach was not limited to the United States. In 1979, CCL's first international teaching couple was certified in Belgium. Expansion in Europe continued through the 80s, with certification of teachers primarily in Great Britain, Ireland, Belgium, and the Netherlands. Expansion into Eastern Europe, notably Poland, the Czech Republic, and the Russian Federation followed. Our collaboration with Poland deepened in 2010 when they translated our current course and the teaching material to train teachers, and they now publish that on their own. Similarly, Cameroon and Central Africa has taken our materials and adapted them and now published them on as well. Today, in addition to Europe, CCL has teachers in several countries, including Australia, the Philippines, India, Pakistan, and Zambia, and I understand some of those folks are online with us today. Our work to bring Spanish to couples began in 1988 with the publication of El Arte, the Spanish version of the Art of NFP. This was followed by the launch of the Spanish Basic Program in 2002, which provided a more tailored style of training to many Spanish-speaking couples. And our outreach to the Hispanic community continues even to this day. The parish-based Know Your Fertility program was launched, unfortunately, just before COVID, is our latest example of us working to try and meet the needs of those we wish to serve. Along the way, we've formed collaboration agreements with NFP organizations in several South American countries, including Argentina, Colombia, Paraguay, and Mexico. Now, looking back on the 1990s, this was really the decade of publication for CCL. At this time, CCL headquarters was in a warehouse office space, and the organization had a vision of becoming both a trainer of NFP and a supporter of those using NFP by offering several publications. Unfortunately, at the time, none of us knew that Amazon was going to come out in 1994 and upset the entire bookseller world. But Marilyn Shannon's Fertility, Cycles, and Nutrition was first published in 1991 and quickly became the authoritative resource on nutritional helps for cycle irregularities. It's now in its 5th edition and continues to be an important resource to millions. John Kipley also published Marriages for Keeps, and it quickly became a popular must-read for priests and deacons preparing couples for marriage in an increasingly secular world. With that publication now out of date, Bill Turrentine stepped forward and produced Your Love Story in 2016. It's an updated work intended to help both the engaged and the married couples marvel at the vocation they have been called to. The 4th edition of The Art of NFP was published in 1996, and it was the largest teaching manual the League had ever produced. At more than 500 pages, it proved to be an excellent resource because nearly every situation imaginable was covered somewhere in the book. In retrospect, it was probably too daunting for engaged couples learning NFP for the first time, and I seem to recall one of our students telling me that it was a better doorstop than book when they got it in the mail. This decade also saw the launch of our clergy and physician seminars to support these important influencers to confidently broach the subject of NFP with others. Importantly, we also launched our first website in 1997, a full year before Google was available for anyone to search. By the time the world figured out that the Y2K threat was really more hype than reality, CCL had instructed nearly 140,000 couples and certified over 1,280 teaching couples. The first decade of the new millennium would prove to be a time of accelerated change. The Kipleys relinquished all formal association with in 2003, and so the League would now be led by someone other than the founder for the first time. For any organization, the transition from founder leadership to non-founder leadership can be challenging, but CCL survived and thrived. In our case, it really seemed to catalyze a step change in the pace of innovation to both better deliver the mission and to an ever more rapidly changing audience. The major effort in this period was a complete reformatting of the main class program. The updated integrated four main themes: adoption and integration of a language of theology of the body, brought to us by the great St. John Paul II, updating the method rules to reflect the latest scientific evidence, changing the overall delivery of the information to be more easily absorbed and by a largely uninformed and skeptical audience, and finally, utilization of current technology, which today is out of date, but we continue to try. Importantly, though, the principles that had guided CCL from its beginning were still front and center. What changed was the delivery and the context to adapt to the current worldview. The new class was now delivered in 3 sessions instead of 4. Outside expertise of clergy and physician was brought to every class via embedded videos, and teachers had many more opportunities to communicate their personal witness and the impact of NFP in their lives. I will have to say the magnitude of this effort only became apparent to me after I became executive director. To redo the curriculum from top to bottom required the full attention of all the staff and significant effort from many of the board at the time. Linda Kroc deserves credit for her board leadership during this time. She is, after John Kipley, the longest-serving board chairman the league has had, and served for a full 10 years. Board member Tom Bankston assumed publication of Family Foundations during this time, so staff time could be freed up to construct the new course. Teachers Bob and Jerry Laird gave up most of their basement and all of their dining room for 2 years to accommodate regular visits from Father Richard Hogan, where they drafted significant sections of the new student guide. And executive director at the time, Andy Alderson, had to oversee the complex logistics of rebuilding teacher training, visual aids, student manuals, and reference and resources for the new curriculum, while raising the needed funds for this massive undertaking. Oh, and at the same time, he kept the organization running. These changes were so dramatic that every teaching couple had to retrain and be recertified. This was facilitated by the implementation of a web-based, self-paced teacher training in 2007. For those of you who remember, it was probably harder to unlearn what we've been teaching for years than it was to deliver this new curriculum. Our volunteers rose to the challenge, though, and we found that far fewer folks had taken the opportunity to retire with this retraining requirement than we expected. And this underscores just how critical and dedicated to the mission our volunteers are. Now, today, 12 years on and 1 revision after its launch, the importance of this revision is evidenced by the continued growth of couples taught by CCL in our increasing share of NFP instruction in U.S. dioceses, and adoption of this curriculum in several countries outside. Recognizing the growing importance of the digital technology, CCL has worked to integrate it to further our mission, and we'll hear some more about that later tonight. In 2008, CyclePro, which was a desktop charting tool, was launched, and we expanded the use of electronic communication to connect with members. In 2009, the online class registration system was launched. This was the first of its kind for any NFP organization in the world. This relieved busy volunteers of a huge administrative burden, ensured students got their materials on time, and created a platform for automated, regular communication with students. 2012 saw the launch of online classes, allowing greater geographic reach and an increase in overall class size. This proved to be a boon for teachers living in areas where students were hard to find. We had one Canadian couple that they taught more couples in 1 year online than they had in 10 previous years teaching live. Little did we know that those lessons learned in 2012 and 2013 would prove vital during the COVID pandemic. The shutdowns of 2020 were amazing, but our ability to literally overnight shift months of scheduled live class series to live online simply would not have been possible without the experience we gained from this teaching earlier. 2013 also heralded the launch of CyclePro Go, a mobile version of CyclePro, and we saw subscriptions skyrocket as interest in women to track and understand their cycles was driving a huge surge in fertility tracking apps. With downloads of fertility tracking apps in the hundreds of millions, this continues to be, for us, an opportunity to evangelize and bring NFP to millions who otherwise might never know. In 2015, we launched the self-paced online course and immediately saw it become our major vehicle for teaching. Today, students have grown up online and expect to be able to learn NFP in their homes at their own pace. The COVID pandemic has accelerated the transition to online learning, support, and trying to build communities virtually. And as Katie Zallanes will outline in the next few minutes, CCL is well positioned and capable to handle this. Several initiatives she will talk will help us to continue to be the leading voice for NFP for the next 50 years. Looking back over the first 5 decades of CCL, a few important themes emerge for me that in my mind are essential as we consider moving ahead for the next 50 years, and we're not done. First is our volunteer base. Without you, CCL simply would not have survived 50 years. It's amazing how dedicated our volunteers are. Look at your programs, the program book inside your nice thing, and look at the number of people with 10, 20, 30 years volunteering. A little factoid here for you. Our current active teaching couple base has on average 14 years of experience. Compare this to any other organization who thinks they're over the moon when they get volunteers to last for 2 to 3 years. And you just get a sense of how dedicated our volunteer base, and that's the real secret of this organization in so many ways. I think the second thing is our unwavering commitment to living married life as articulated in Humanae Vitae. Our teaching as couples to couples, even when done via self-paced learning, is a living witness that NFP works, and it brings both challenges and blessings to grow as a married couple. As I've worked with other NFP organizations around the globe, they all admit privately that NFP works best when couples are doing it together. This even includes those methods that were deliberately intended to teach women only. Our couple-to-couple approach also leads seamlessly to ongoing support for those living the NFP lifestyle, not just students, but practitioners along the way. CCL began when abortion was illegal in the United States. Today, we're exposing couples to NFP who have grown up in the post-Christian cultural perspective that says universal hormonal contraception is an expectation and abortion is a legal option when it fails. Today, the need for CCL and its witness to authentic love is needed even more than when we first began. Third, I think another hallmark of our endurance is the ability of the League to adapt and change. Employees have often joked that CCL stands for Constantly Changing League, right? And this does have a ring of truth. Look how many times the Art of NFP was revised before we did the major course revision in 2008. A home study course that was effective in the pre-internet era has now morphed into online learning delivered in many, many ways. Support for couples living NFP in the 80s and 90s really meant hard copy books and magazines. Today, that expectation is online video and 24/7, 365 answers to my specific question. So CCL has learned through the years how to maintain what needs to be maintained while adapting to and integrating what works for the current audience. This certainly will serve us well in the coming years and decades. In closing, I'd just like to say that Karen and I are grateful to have found CCL so early in our marriage, and we are really honored to be a part of this incredible organization. We have much to be proud of in our first 50 years, and yes, like every family, the good came with struggles and challenges, but like family, we stuck it out and we made it work. As we look ahead, there'll be more changes and more challenges in the next 50 years, and hopefully most of us will still be around to experience those. But we've learned much in our time, and we welcome the challenges ahead. I hope you're proud of what we've done together and inspired to do even more as we go forward. I'd like to leave you with a quote from St. John Henry Newman as we look ahead. He said, "To live is to change, and to be perfect is to have changed often." May God continue to bless CCL as we strive to be perfect in His eyes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. And I think probably many of us in this room remember what it was like to have to relearn everything to get recertified. And I think I distinctly remember being at a board meeting where we were discussing the online course and should we put teaching online? Imagine that. And here we are today, everything's online. So thank you, Mike, and such a beautiful history and a history of change and adaptation. This organization has always been at the heart of meeting the needs of the church and the culture. And these changes through the years weren't just good ideas. They have always been in response to the needs of the couples that this organization has served and the families that it serves, both in supporting them in this lifestyle, but also bringing them truly into the good, true, and beautiful that radically changes people's lives and sets marriages on a beautiful course and it affects families for generations. So that was a wonderful history and very well done. So now I have the privilege of introducing who I call not only a colleague but a friend. Katie Zallanes is with us this evening. She is the Executive Director of Couple to Couple League, an organization celebrating 50 years of promoting and teaching natural family planning. With her background in software engineering and marketing, Katie has focused on providing platforms to allow teachers to support women and men through a lifetime of fertility. With millions of women downloading fertility apps, there is an unprecedented need for solid, scientifically based education regarding fertility, which supports the dignity of the human person and safeguards the creation of all new life. Katie is most energized by lending her skills to help CCL volunteers as they continue on their mission to share the gift of Humana Vitae. Katie spent 23 years promoting CCL with her husband, Tom, before joining the organization as executive director in 2019. Katie and Tom are blessed with 2 sons and a soon-to-be daughter-in-law. So welcome, Katie.
Thank you, Kate, for that beautiful introduction. It's such an exciting time. It's so filled with promise as we start our next 50 years at CCL, sharing the gift of Humana Vitae. I want to take a minute to thank again all of you who are the heart of CCL, to thank our talented and tireless board of directors for their work, our generous donors, our dedicated volunteers, teaching couples and promoters, and of course our awesome CCL staff. Great job with the dinner. On your table or in your email, you have a copy of our commemorative program. When we were putting it together, we had so many people that we wanted to thank, we were literally running out of space. And so we ended up just with our extraordinary achievers listed. And it says something amazing about the organization when my husband and I, who now have 24 years as promoters, are still considered baby volunteers because we didn't make the list. So we're working on it for the next 50 years. It's the strength and trust which comes from the thousands of volunteers and donors that have joined together over the past 50 years that makes this so attractive to the next generation. In a world which is so mixed up that it cannot even acknowledge male and female, the stability found at Couple to Couple League is very reassuring. Together, we continue our mission to inspire, educate, and support couples in family planning that is natural, effective, healthy, and consistent with God's plan for life, love, and marriage. As Mike recounted, while the mission hasn't changed, the needs of those we serve have changed, and we need to adjust our methodology to meet our students where they are. We have researched the needs of Millennial and Gen X couples to understand how to meet their needs effectively. And with this in mind, as part of our 2025 strategic plan, we are pleased to announce the formation of the Fertility Science Institute. The Fertility Science Institute is CCL's outreach effort that has grown out of CCL's tradition of supporting couples through a lifetime of fertility. It will be the one-stop shop for all things NFP. The Institute is an online platform that promotes a holistic approach to fertility awareness with learning areas for each stage in life. So a learning area is composed of videos, downloads, resources, and communities. As it's digital in nature, we're able to update the content quickly and make the information available to an unlimited audience. When we started last year with mother-daughter, we continue to build out new learning areas as we go, leveraging our existing resources and adding new content to them. Partners are already joining to help us expand our offerings. Our partner, Temple and Table, is working with us on a nutrition area, and Natural Womanhood is working with us on our teenage young adult area. There's an incredible wellspring of interest in fertility awareness right now. For the first time, we see that women are turning away from hormonal birth control. Over 150 million women have downloaded fertility apps. And we have an opportunity to accompany these women and couples to discover in themselves what we at CCL have already found. Clearly, the good, the true, and the beautiful understanding of fertility is resonating with women and men. This popularity is driving rapid innovation. Bluetooth thermometers, hormone testing, the femtech market is expected to be $50 billion in just 4 years. And big tech is aiming to take control of that marketplace. The Fertility Science Institute gives us at CCL the opportunity to claim our authority, the authority that we've built together over the past 50 years of teaching and living an all-natural, clean, green lifestyle. And that's right, we were green before it was cool. So what does that really mean for us? Well, for 50 years, Big Pharma has run the narrative. They have convinced 2 generations that fertility is a disease, and they have a pill or a device to fix you. The damage that they have done has been incalculable. Their message that sex and children do not have to be connected is the big lie. With more than 50% of women who are seeking abortions reporting that they are using birth control, the stakes have never been higher to take control of the narrative, to witness to the dignity of the human person and the gift of our fertility. As I said, the Fertility Science Institute is meant to be a trusted source for all things NFP, and that will allow us to help shape the narrative for this next generation rather than handing it over to big tech. Let me paint the picture of what this might look like. Imagine a young teen girl sitting down with her mom to use the mother-daughter area to get the conversation going about fertility. In a few years, she goes to college, where she reaches out to her peers in our young adult area. This gives her the confidence to resist the hookup culture on campus. And then one day she meets her future husband, and they're able to take the CCL NFP class through FSI. A few years later, their first child arrives, and she turns to our Postpartum Phase and discovers that her confusing charting signs can be explained by her coach. When fertility returns, they can go back to CCL's method. I could go on with this story, but I think you get the picture. FSI is there giving sound advice and great support at every step of their reproductive life. The good news is that while we have much work to do on this, we've already gotten started. So I have some videos for you to watch to show how we've been able to use the Fertility Science Institute, we're calling it now, to help with newer traditional paths to helping people learn or supporting them in NFP. So if I could have my help.
Hi, I'm Stacy Nagel. This is my daughter Siska. And we watched the basics videos from the mother-daughter area before Ziska started her period. And I'm so glad that we had that resource available. I could just say, hey, why don't you come over here and we'll sit down and watch this video. And I think it worked pretty well. Like we learned a lot together, but I think Siska was really prepared when she did start her period.
Yes, the video did prepare me really well and taught me what I needed to do. But
it really taught her what to do. I mean, we had talked about it and she was really prepared because then she started her period and it was no big deal. And I found out a couple months after she started her period that she had started her period and she didn't say anything.
apparently you're supposed to tell your mom these things.
Well, it would have been nice to celebrate with some ice cream. But anyways, so we were well prepared, and when we need to, we're going to go back and watch the other videos once you get a little bit more experience under your belt and have more questions.
Hi, I'm Ccl Apostolate.
I'm Stephen Apostolate.
And we are students of Couple to Couple League. We have been taking the natural family planning, and it really has been a wonderful experience from the start.
And from my perspective, this has been very helpful and beneficial to my understanding of what's going on with this whole process and throughout all the cycles. And so this has brought tremendous value to my life and also to our relationship, and as well as to my relationship with other female family members too. So it's like I have a better understanding of what's going on from a male and a female and a married couple's perspective. So we're really appreciative of all that.
Yeah, truly, it has been really wonderful. And I think the best thing that we got out of all of this was just understanding like my body and how God created it. It just gave us such a deeper appreciation for God as the creator. And so if we got anything out of it, that was the best thing we could have gotten out of it. It definitely strengthened our relationship. It strengthened our relationship with God. And we were just so thankful for the opportunity to work with all of you. Keep up the good work and happy 50th.
Meeting with a coach was really nice because we could talk over not only the method, but also just general like female reproductive life questions, like does your cycle change after pregnancy? Like no one had ever talked to us about that before. So it was really nice to have someone who was knowledgeable and right there for us on our time, and who could break it down for us whenever we needed it, because the last thing you need when you're sleep deprived with a newborn is trying to figure out how to log into something online or where you left a book. So we've really appreciated having an NFP coach, and we've appreciated Marquette for postpartum specifically. So thank you very much, Ccl, for all of your work.
Yeah, thank you.
For me, teaching premenopause was a natural extension of teaching the basic symptothermal class for nearly 25 years. I wanted to share that same type of knowledge that once helped couples monitor their fertility and now would help them during this kind of a wind-down phase of their fertile years. I hope I can help others as they work their way through this part of the fertility cycle.
Hello, my name is Paulina Oviedo.
Hi, my name is Demetrio Lamilla.
And we want to share our experience with natural family planning. We learned natural family planning in a moment when we felt the need to follow God's way. And once we learn it, we want to be teachers as well, and we teach for some time as volunteers because we want to teach women that yes, you can plan your pregnancies with natural family planning and you don't have to risk your health or your life. It is very possible.
When I learned this method, which helps me to know more my wife better and to see my children as a blessing and not as a burden. And I discovered also that my sexuality is a gift from God, and also to show me how to love more my wife.
And of course, natural family planning has many challenges when you learn it. And one of the most difficult ones is postpartum phase. On that time, you feel so unconfident about yourself. Your baby is not sleeping, you are not sleeping as well. Your husband wants to be with you, your hormones are everywhere, and you just need to feel confident about what you are doing. But if you go step by step with a teacher, it is possible to read the signs on your design, because it is your fertility design. It is made, and you can learn how to read it and how to confront these challenges once until you return to your natural cycles.
And this period of time is when I have to show my wife more support, because it's a very difficult phase for both of us. But if you are very determined to follow God's way, He will show you the path like He did with us.
And we want to thank all the people who gives to Couple League, because that's changing lives. It is a way to unroot abortion, because once we learn natural family planning, we start seeing life as God sees life, not as the world sees life. God sees lives as a blessing, and that's how we see life now. And we teach this to other couples, and we teach this to our children, and it is going to last for generations and generations. It is money well invested.
So believe me, that your donations are making a huge difference on us, and I hope it's gonna make a difference in other people's and other couples who want to learn this method. And your money is really worth it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
These stories are so inspiring. We have a lot of them to tell, and it's a real tribute to Couple to Couple League and how you have a tradition of supporting couples, not just teaching them class and saying good luck, but supporting them through their whole lives. So we want to provide the support to every couple that we meet. So what would that take? Well, stepping up to meet this huge demand does require substantial investment. Each learning area that we were looking at needs at least $25,000 of investment to reach out to our audiences with relevant content. The cost of educating one couple in our main class series is only covered 50% by the course fee. The remaining 50% is covered by generous donors, and additionally, CCL has always offered scholarships to those couples facing financial need. Our mobile app is scheduled for an upgrade that will run well over $300,000. And at the end of the day, our marketing campaign will enable our audiences to find us, very important. And those costs will run close to $100,000. So in front of us, we have an opportunity now, a window of opportunity before the narrative is taken over by big tech. We have the knowledge and the platform and an audience that's ready to listen. We need your help with prayer, time and talent, and treasure. We need you to recommit to the mission of CCL. I asked one of our 20-somethings about their impression of CCL, and her answer was, well, you've been around for 50 years, so I can trust you. That trust has been earned over 50 years of sacrifice of time, talent, and treasure of our members. We witness to the truth of Humane Vitae, despite it being countercultural. We put up with the eye-rolling, the snickers from family, friends, medical community, and even at times from people that share our faith. While the church is coming to grips with how we need to gear up for the new apostolic age, CCL members are thoroughly battle-hardened and armored just in time to recommit to meeting the tremendous needs of these times. God has brought us together for His purpose. So let's echo St. Joan of Arc. I am not afraid. I was born for this time. Under the banner of Our Lady of Guadalupe and under the shield of St. Michael the Archangel, let us recommit ourselves to the battle of our age. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Katie. Those are really exciting plans. as a board, we've been talking about this for several years. It's so gratifying to see it start to come to life, and then to hear those couples talk is just great. Today, CCL is the leading provider of NFP instruction to couples getting married in the church, and we will certainly continue to do that for the years to come. In fact, depending on the year and the reporting, CCL teaches between 30 and 50% of the couples who get a full class of NFP in the United States and are getting married in the church. But we're going to continue to do that. But beyond that, CCL can and should do much more, and that's where Fertility Science Institute can come in to play. With an interested audience of numbering literally in the millions, CCL is stepping up to share our knowledge and expertise to a whole new audience through FSI. We'll need everyone's help as we reach out to support women in med by providing excellent resources and natural family planning that supports their human dignity and recognizes their gift of fertility. There's so many couples like Stephen and Michaela who, though not Catholic, were looking for instruction in natural family planning, and we can help them. FSI is one tangible way we can show that NFP doesn't stand for not for Protestants. Stephen, God bless him, he finally realized us men, we're clueless. We need help. And like our CCL teacher, Rose, who uses her Marquette certification to help moms like Sarah get through those difficult return of fertility times with postpartum breastfeeding. We're committed to continuing our tradition of supporting folks through a lifetime of fertility, even when they feel a different method is appropriate for them at that time. But none of this work comes without effort and sacrifice. And Katie just outlined for you what some of that effort costs. It's not small. Now, in the coming weeks, we'll be coming to our members to step forward this year to recommit to help us with their talents, donations, and their prayers as we lean into the challenge to teach more couples than ever before. But tonight, I'm asking each of you, both here in person and on live who are watching, to consider a one-time sacrificial gift to CCL in honor of our 50th anniversary. Or, if it's better for you, become a monthly sacrificial giver and keep the programs going steadily. CCL members have a beautiful tradition of supporting each other over the last 50 years, and your gift tonight will continue that for future generations as we build the Fertility Science Institute. For those of you that are here with us, there are large envelopes in the center of the table, and I'd ask somebody to grab those and pass those around, and there are two smaller items, an envelope and a card. For those of you who are online, there's a donate button directly below the live stream, the ccl50.org. You can click on that to donate. Okay. In an age that offers little surety, your sacrificial gift will provide a path to so many who are so hungry for the truth and beauty of Humanae Vitae and need help in order to find order in their world. And this is something that we can do together. So, logistically, this is pretty straightforward. We have a card here. I can demonstrate this. You can check the suggested amount. You could add 3 or 4 zeros to those suggested amounts. That would be okay as well. You can pay with a check or by credit card. If you want to pay online, there's a QR code inside the program or on the back of the card. Oh, look at that. Forgot to turn it over. You can scan it and use it on your phone. Then I'll do the demonstration here. So you take your check, you put it with your card, you put it in the envelope, and then you just put the envelopes back in put them back in the big envelope. There are pens inside that envelope as well. So again, I want to thank you ahead of time for your generosity. It is really wonderful to see all of you here tonight. And as you're finishing that up, I'd ask Carmen Santamaria to come forward. She'll close our program with our closing prayer. Carmen is another member of the board. She is currently serving her 5th and final 2-year term within the board. So we do have term limits, unlike Congress. And I think Alex is loving it. He's toured most of the cities that had baseball parks that he wanted to see as a result of CCL board meetings. So, Carmen, thank you.
So I ask all of you to join me in finishing up the evening with the prayer, the Ccl Apostolate Prayer, which you can actually find in your folders. It's on the back of the Pope Paul VI bookmark. So let's all say this together. Lord God, you called us into communion with you, whether in celibacy or in holy matrimony, to reflect your love in a life of service. In a world which has grown blind to the beauty of your creation, help us to live the love with fidelity and fruitfulness. Send your Holy Spirit to give us courage to seek the truth and faith so that we are not discouraged. We entrust the work of the Couple to Couple League to your care. Make us good stewards and credible witnesses. May we always be faithful to you. We seek the intercession of Our Lady of Guadalupe, Saint Joseph, Saints Joachim and Anne, and Saint Gianna Beretta Mola. May they all, and all the communion of saints, intercede on our behalf. To Jesus Christ, the Lord of life. Amen.
Thank you, Carmen, and thank you, everyone, for being with us this evening. And those of you who are tuning in from around the world and around the country, it's just a gift to be together as the CCL family, to celebrate what it's meant over 50 years, and praying that there are 50 more years. And I do a lot of work in the church and a lot of consulting, and see a lot of, I work with a lot of dioceses and bishops and apostolates and ministries. And my mantra continues to be what St. Paul said, where sin abounds, grace abounds more. And we should be expecting this particular time in our world and our culture, as we sort of see the evil creeping up around us, this should be a time of great graces. And the light of CCL, as all these beautiful candles I can see on your tables, the light of CCL continues to shine brightly. And the Fertility Science Institute is so needed for our culture and for our world, for our millennial and Gen Z couples who are open to this in a way that they have never been before. This is a grace for our time. So we thank you for being a part of this. And hold on to this, that where sin abounds, grace abounds more. Expect the graces that God has for this world, for the church, for the culture, and for what is coming through the work of CCL after all this time. So thank you for being with us, and enjoy your evening.